Hello and welcome to the Public Speakers Association Virtual Summit for February 11th of 2020, and we are so happy to have you here. We have a huge lineup of experts today, and we are talking about assessing your progress. Where are you at in February of 2021? We have our first amazing speaker coming up right now, the ever talented and an amazing person, practitioner, and someone who is always out to help you. We're talking about Stephanie Loreas, and she is going to talk to us today about, is that resolution a memory? Stephanie, please take it away.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am so excited to be here with you today. We are, 5-6 weeks into 2021, and I know many of us have heard those statistics before, that 80% of our New Year's resolutions fail. And by the time we get to February, many of us, about 50% of us, have already chucked those New Year's resolutions aside. And you don't have to put it in the chat box. You don't even have to raise your hand, but are you part of that majority? There's no shame in that. And for me, that is why I am anti New Year's resolution. But if you know me, you know that I am all about goals. There should be things that we're striving for, that we're working towards. We all have those dreams, those aspirations, those things that we want to achieve in life. And we need to have a plan, something in place that's getting us towards those goals. But that New Year's resolution, or the I start on Monday, or that magical date on the calendar where we make that big sweeping change, is something that so often sets us up for failure, for collapse, for something that often needs a restart, a little bit of reworking, or something in our lives that needs a revamp. Because that New Year's resolution, that big Monday, or whatever it is, when we come in with that sweeping change, it's not sustainable. Because we've taken our everyday routine, the things that we're used to, the things that were livable, the things that the people around us, our family, our friends, our coworkers, have been used to, and we've swept it all away and told everybody else this is what they have to get used to now too. And so we've made it not sustainable for everybody else. Think about a conventional diet that we bring in. If you have other people in your household and you bring in a brand new diet, you might be all of a sudden preparing 2 different meals to satisfy you and satisfy everybody else in your household. It's a big change. It's a big upheaval. And sometimes that new routine isn't something that settles very well. It's too time consuming. We maybe didn't think about all the steps at first. It looked new and shiny, but then it gets old and it doesn't fit. And so we chuck it out after that first week, that month, that 6 weeks. And we say, oh, I've failed again. But we don't have to fail again. We don't have to give up the goal, give up the dream, or whatever it is that we want to achieve. We can turn those things around and build up to those things in a different way. Instead of making the big sweeping change all at once and institute all of the giant changes in one foul swoop, we start with just one thing. If we're instituting healthy habits, what's the one thing that we can do today? What's the one thing we can start to do consistently each day? And then how can we build it? How can we add on to it that it fits into life? Maybe it's adding a vegetable into each meal. Maybe it's getting up just 5 minutes earlier to make breakfast at home instead of grabbing coffee at your favorite drive-thru. It's all these small changes that we start to add in that add up to that bigger goal. And if you've listened to me speak before, I've talked about this snowball effect with the tiny actions. Because when we start with the grand sweeping changes, we often get to that point of, I can't fit this into my life, it's not working. But when we start with the tiny actions, the small steps, and snowball those up, we see where they fit. We see where we have time for them. And as we start to model those small habits, other people in our life get on board too. If we're adding maybe just a side dish at a meal, people in our lives get interested. Oh, I want to try that too. And then you're not preparing multiple meals for multiple people and things like that. If we're getting up 5 minutes earlier, then it starts to maybe get to 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour earlier. And then you might be able to say, oh, look at all this time I have to get in a workout or meditation or spiritual devotion time, whatever that looks like for you, that you've set the goal to dedicate yourself to. So by instituting those tiny actions and ramping up towards the goal, we have a better chance of success rather than starting at that sweeping change and setting ourselves up for something that doesn't fit. So I encourage you today that if you started out with that New Year's resolution and maybe have already thrown it away or are feeling like this just isn't working, maybe pick just one part of it, one small piece of what you're doing, and say, this is what I'm focusing on today. And then add in another bit and another bit, and see how that momentum builds over the next few weeks and months towards the success of what you originally set out to do. And I bet from there, you're going to start to see that major change that you set out to accomplish. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I thank you for letting me come and share these thoughts.